sales, loan modifications, insurance claims adjustments, title deeds, and real estate contract disputes. Attorney Gaines attended the University of Miami School of Law. Mr. Gaines acquired his experience in real estate litigation by assisting with landlord tenant disputes and foreclosure defense. Foreclosure is a legal process where a creditor, such as a lender or condo association, files a lawsuit to obtain judgment authorizing it to place your property up for sale at a public auction. At the Gaines Law Firm, you will have a one-on-one consultation to discuss different options, including loan modifications, refinance, and whether bankruptcy is recommended. Once you receive notice about the lawsuit, most people typically have 20 days to respond to the suit. If you file a response contesting the foreclosure action, it may take years before a judge rules or whether to grant foreclosure. Most people don't know that there are many options available to them when faced with foreclosure. Attorney Gaines, a real estate attorney, is equipped to prepare and review documents relating to real estate, such as purchase agreements, mortgage documents, title documents, and transfer documents in most cases. Don't try to take the big banks on alone. Contact Attorney Tayson Gaines at 561 543 9226. That's 561 543 9226.
We are back now with more of the Ask the Experts radio show, proudly sponsored by board certified family law attorney Tina Lewert of Lewert Law LLC, covering South Florida.
And we are back. This is the Ask the Expert show. I'm your host, Steve O. We're here every Thursday night. Sometimes I have to think about that. We're on in so many different markets on so many different days, but we're with you. I love the time, 6 to 7 drive time. And I've had more people write me and said they were flickering the dial, Freddie, and then they heard our show. We get so many people like that were looking for something different than music. This next show, our next expert, is one of the top real estate attorneys in the state of Florida. And I'm going to tell you something. Our guest, our expert, our attorney knows about foreclosures. He knows about real estate law, and we're even going to kind of promote, I think his title company's open now, I think. But let's welcome attorney Tayson Gaines with the Gaines Firm. Bro, I love the name of your law firm, the Gaines Firm.
Thank you. I got lucky. It's just my namesake, so I just keep it consistent.
No, that's strong. It is. Now, are you in town today?
I am. I'm here in South Florida. I actually just got back in town a couple of days ago.
You travel a lot. Tayson, tell everybody about your firm. And I got to tell you, if we went into his entire bio, it would take the whole show. This man has done so much. But tell everybody about your firm.
Yeah, no, thank you for the compliment. My firm, we're going on 5 years now. Very fortunate and blessed to be growing, slowly but steadily. So we're expanding here, as you mentioned. We've recently, about 2 months ago, added in our title and closing services. So we have the luxury of offering our community those services, whether it's residential or commercial. We can assist all realtors, brokers with title and closing services. But specifically, we do a number of other things, personal injury cases. We do a lot of business litigation. But me specifically, I focus my energy and efforts on real estate law. And that's mostly, I guess the majority of my particular practice individually is a lot of foreclosure defense. I do some quiet titles, some partitions, all types of things related to real estate. But the number one area is, and will always be, unfortunately, foreclosure defense.
Well, hey, Tayson, I hope that one day you'll bring in maybe one of your realtors that you do a lot of business with, and we'll give them the red carpet treatment. But it's, gosh, foreclosure is so sad. Is it getting worse?
Yeah, it's definitely getting worse. All of the metrics and all the statistics show that not only are they increasing up, but there's a lot of other kind of macroeconomic issues that are leading to most projections showing that we will have a significant increase in foreclosures. A lot of that has to do with the different moratoriums and different programs kind of terminating or being suspended due to the pandemic issues subsiding to a certain degree. But a lot of them are some of the more traditional issues, the more risky loans. We're starting to see a lot of risky loans, line of credits being used to secure homes and mortgages. And so, with all of those factors coming together and all of the issues surrounding the employment market, it's becoming very difficult for people to sustain these increased mortgage payments and cost of living. And so, unfortunately, a lot of foreclosure rates are spiking and increasing.
We just got a text from one of our listeners wanting to know, is it a buyer's market or seller market now?
Well, in my humble opinion, it is clearly a seller's market. I don't really know any buyers that would say it's a buyer's market at this time. I would say maybe a year or so ago, if you were buying cash, you could still kind of find some deals and things like that. But in this climate, the supply, the inventory of homes is extremely low. The building, I think that's contributed a lot. The building has kind of subsided and taken a break. A lot of that is due to logistical constraints as far as shipping containers and things coming over, the logistical constraints on trucking, getting supplies in, the increased cost of lumber and concrete, cement. All of those things have contributed to in a clear seller's market, and it's even hard to get qualified buyers now. So, sellers are having a hard time finding buyers that can qualify, but if they can, definitely a seller's market. You're seeing a lot of bidding wars between buyers. You're seeing, for example, my brother, he just sold his personal home, and the buyers bought it cash sight unseen. So they
wow, sight unseen?
Sight unseen. And so that's becoming a regular thing due to the fact that, these properties only staying on the market 2-3 days, at the most, maybe a week or two, depending on price. But if your home is priced relatively respectfully as it relates to market value, these homes are getting purchased very, very fast. And so you're starting to see those type of aggressive activities from buyers, buying sight unseen, even believe different things like appraisals or, surveys, different things that buyers normally would want as protections. You're starting to see those things subside and kind of be left to the wayside because of such inequities in the supply and demand.
What about the investors? Are they still out there?
Investors, there's plenty of investors out there. I'm talking. I had 2 meetings with investors today. They're actively still looking for properties. A lot of these portfolio managers need somewhere to put funds. The issue is just that as far as the rates,
inventory,
ROI, they're not there. The inventory is low, so the prices are high. And for most investors, they're looking on a return on their investment. Most of them are looking for 10, 12, 14% returns annualized. And that is becoming highly, highly difficult to secure in this market just because the increase in prices and then the competitive nature of the buyer's market. And so whether investors are looking towards tax deeds, whether they're looking to buy foreclosed homes, whether they're looking to shop on the wholesale market, the returns and the potential returns are decreasing, and that's causing a lot of investors to kind of have to sit and hold tight and wait on better deals.
Not me. You forgot to mention something really important. What school did you go to?
So for law school, I graduated from the University of Miami.
Aha. Okay. So you went to the U for law school.
I did.
Very important.
It cost me a lot of money, but it was a great education.
Oh, I'm sure. So we just got a text. This is weird. Somebody wants to know if you look at timeshare contracts?
I do. I do. I've done a significant amount of timeshare contracts. They do fall under a separate statute, and they're governed slightly different than traditional real estate. But we've helped a number of individuals either restructure their timeshare agreements or actually get out of those agreements.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
we've had some significant experience with that. They're definitely generally industry standard, tough contracts. It's not. You don't usually have a lot of the traditional options that are available to you from a foreclosure or single home residential side. But there are always options available. So, we'd be happy to help people anytime we can.
Give out your phone number while they're listening to the show right now.
Sure. So locally, it's 561-543-9226. And then on a national level, it's 1-800-241-1559.
You know what's going to happen to Tayson? He's going to be one of these nationally renowned realtors. We'll hardly ever see him, and we'll say, "You remember when you were just here in Florida?" I mean, you're such a go-getter. Before we go to break, I want to ask you about deed in lieu of a foreclosure. Can you explain that?
Sure. So a deed in lieu is essentially a nice fancy term that we use to essentially define a contract where someone who may be in default, right? They miss some payments. They may have foreclosure, be a pre-foreclosure, or actually involved in the foreclosure process. A deed in lieu is an option that lenders will give, or your attorney will negotiate for you with your lender, where you can turn over title to your property in exchange for the lender dropping the foreclosure case or not continuing to pursue you for foreclosure. It can be a benefit for a number of people who have some savings already stored up and they really don't want the negative implications and impacts to their credit. And so when they can kind of see the writing on the wall, if you're, $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 in default, right, in delinquent payments, you owe a significant amount. You know that your home's underwater, right? You owe $400,000 and it's only worth $300,000. And this investment just really doesn't make financial sense to you anymore. Deed in lieu can sometimes be a great alternative where you can essentially turn that property over to the lender and they will then drop the foreclosure case. And so the lenders are incentivized to consider those options because foreclosure can take a year, 2, sometimes 3 or 4 to actually go through that entire litigation process. And so they're essentially exchanging time for value, and they'll give you a better deal early stages of the foreclosure process if you're willing to give up title to the property in exchange for not continuing the litigation process and not dragging the inevitable out.
Tayson, walk us through the foreclosure. How does it start? When do you have to really act? When should you hire an attorney? How does it start?
So my advice is always that people should initially start contacting real estate attorneys, specifically those who work in foreclosure defense.
Like yourself.
At the first time that they get a default letter. So by law, lenders have to notice you within 36 days of your first missed payment, and then have to notice you within 36 days of any additional missed payments that you have. So you should receive some notice from your lender, whether it's a phone call, whether it's in writing, whether it's by email, that you are in default. And so that's the first time that people want to start contacting an attorney. As far as the actual foreclosure process, once your lender goes through all of the required notices, the intent to foreclose letters, the notice of default letters, the notice of accelerating your mortgage, there's a number of things that they have to go through. But after that time, generally, which is 120 days after your delinquent payments start, then your lender can pursue foreclosure. The way that formal process starts, as far as the lawsuit side, is you have to be served with a complaint, right, by a process server. Once you're served, the time starts ticking, and you have 20 days from that point on to provide a legal response, right? And so keyword is legal. A lot of times people will just submit paperwork on their own.
To
They'll
save
write
money.
a letter to the court. Yeah, they'll try to just write a letter to the court because most times they're just not familiar with the
Right.
process, and they think that, someone will look out for their best interests. But unfortunately, your lenders are looking out for their best interests. So they're not going to tell you how to protect yourselves from them. They're just going to pursue the foreclosure on their own. And so that 20-day window is really kind of that make or break time where even if you haven't done anything prior to, you need to take quick, effective, smart action within that 20-day window. Secure an attorney who's knowledgeable in the area, hire them, and then allow them to file an actual legal defense and a legal response on your behalf. If you do that, then you could not only buy yourself a lot of time as far as if you did not do it, how long it would take to lose the home, but more importantly, you may access a number of defenses and a number of alternatives to foreclosure that are available to you that could keep you in your home and allow you to restructure your debt so that it works for you and you can continue in your
Taysom,
home.
why would somebody who's in that 20-day, I don't even know if you call it a grace period or not, that open window, why would they not hire an attorney like you when you can save them so much aggravation?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Sometimes people are trying to save costs or they're just financially constrained, right? Most times, if I'm in foreclosure and I'm being foreclosed, cash flow is an issue. And so, understandably so, a lot of times people have limitations there. But I think the bigger concern for me and the thing that I find in my practice is just that most people really don't understand the severity of no action or inaction. And they don't really understand that if they fail to respond adequately, they could be sacrificing a lot of their rights and a lot of the alternatives that they have. So it's really just education and exposure most times, and that is that's added to a lot of times because your lender, who's actually pursuing the foreclosure, will contact you numerous times leading up to them filing the lawsuit. And so a lot of times you can imagine people will just assume, well, this is just my lender contacted me again. I spoke to him on the phone 3 or 4 times already. I explained my situation. They were very nice to me. And so a lot of times people will just think that it's a similar thing happening. And I can tell you from a lot of the perspectives, they use that to their advantage. So when they're making these phone calls and they're sending out these legally required letters that they have to send out, they will play nice with people and people will grow a comfort level with them. Once the foreclosure is actually filed and they're served, a lot of the times people will have a false or a misperception that it's not that serious or that the lender is going to work with them because they told them the phone or they wrote them a letter. And 9 times out of 10, that's not the case. If your lender has taken the time out and spent the money to file this lawsuit, you can better believe that they're going to pursue it.
Oh, yeah.
And most times, the left hand is not talking to the right? So the person that you spoke with over the phone or that wrote you this letter telling you we're having problems and that we had to work out a modification with you, those people are totally than those individuals who are actually filing the lawsuit and pursuing the lawsuit against you. And so just because you speak with someone at your bank or with your lender and they're nice, it does not mean that you should sacrifice your rights or assume that they're working in your interest. Your job is to protect yourself. Don't take anything for granted. Do not assume what any lender told you is true, especially if it was over the phone. Contact an attorney. Let them review your documents. Some of them will do it for free, and they can tell you exactly what you're up against. So at least you can be sure as to what's what when it comes to the foreclosure.
And Taysom, with there not being a lot of inventory, I'm sure the bank can get rid of your house right away.
Well, I mean, if the bank forecloses, generally it's going to be sold at an auction. So it won't even make it back into the bank's hands. It'll be sold at a public auction. One of those investors that you spoke about, they're salivating those opportunities and they're sitting down online bidding on those properties all day, and they'll win the bid. Your lender will get what they're entitled to out of those purchase funds. But after that, the bank will wash their hands with it.
Wow.
Back previously, 2010, 2012, where prices were down pressed a little bit, you had situations where the banks were actually taking these properties back over. But in this market, properties are going to sell at a premium. Generally, it's going to be an investor who purchases them or some other third party, and it will never even make it back into the hands of the bank. So, if it did, sure, they would sell it and get rid of it quick, but almost always it never even makes it back into the hands of the bank.
Well, you can tell by hearing Tayson talk. He knows the real estate business. Give everybody your phone number, Tayson.
Sure. So again, locally 561-543-9226. And on the national level, it's 1-800-241-1559. Available to take calls and consult with any homeowners to help you understand the process and get you through it.
And what about your title company? Is it a separate phone number?
No, so you call the same number. The title is run specifically through the firm.
Okay.
I have a receptionist that'll take all of the calls, and they'll get you directed to the appropriate person that'll help you. So we have somebody that handles all of the title files exclusively. So if someone's in need of that, we'll just route the call over and get them in the hands of that person.
Okay, we're going to go to break. We're with Tayson Gaines. He's the principal of the Gaines firm. We're talking foreclosure and real estate tonight. We'll be right back.
Attorney Tayson Gaines practices real estate litigation, including but not limited to foreclosure. By assisting with landlord-tenant disputes and foreclosure defense. Foreclosure is a legal process where a creditor, such as a lender or condo association, files a lawsuit to obtain judgment authorizing it to place your property up for sale at a public auction. At the Gaines Law Firm, you will have a one-on-one consultation to discuss different options, including loan modifications, refinance, and whether bankruptcy is recommended. Once you receive notice about the lawsuit, most people typically have 20 days to respond to the suit. If you file a response contesting the foreclosure action, it may take years before a judge rules or whether to grant foreclosure. Most people don't know that there are many options available to them when faced with foreclosure. Attorney Gaines, a real estate attorney, is equipped to prepare and review documents relating to real estate, such as purchase agreements, mortgage documents, title documents, and transfer documents in most cases. Don't try to take the big banks on alone. Contact Attorney Tayson Gaines at 561-543-9226. That's 561-543-9226.
We are back now with more of the Ask the Experts radio show, proudly sponsored by board-certified family law attorney Tina Lewert of Lewert Law LLC, covering South Florida.
We are back. This is the Ask the Expert show. We're in our final 8 to 10 minutes. We're here with real estate attorney, Tayson Gaines of the Gaines firm. So we have a question for you, Tayson. What about an HOA? Now these monthly fees are getting higher and higher. What does someone do if they can't get to where they can't afford their fees anymore? Can they lose their house?
Sure. Great question. HOAs, condo association dues, this is probably the biggest issue that is not spoke about in foreclosure law. Yes, the short answer is yes. I've seen HOAs, I've seen condo associations foreclose, which they generally have a right to do, contract that you sign with them, if you fail to make your assessment payments.
Wow.
And so ultimately, it's very unfortunate. I just had a case where an elderly woman literally missed 3 payments. Her association dues were much lower than the average person. They were only about $220, which is very cheap in this economy.
Right.
And she missed 3 payments, and her association decided to foreclose. Now, not every association takes on those type of actions, but what happens is, unfortunately, due to the increased cost of living, right, a lot of these associations are constrained on a budgetary standpoint. And so they're looking for every single dollar that they're entitled to. And when they don't get it, they can pursue foreclosure. And if you don't defend it properly, again, that property can be sold at auction. And this is a note for a lot of investors. I have a lot of my newbie investors who try to purchase foreclosures that are initiated by the homeowners association. And a lot of the times what can happen is you can purchase that property, or at least appear to purchase that property at auction, but you don't really own what's called a priority interest if you make that purchase at the auction. If that person has a mortgage on the property, right? And when the homeowners association or condo association forecloses, if they don't include your mortgage holder, whether it's your bank or your lender, in that lawsuit, then that mortgage will still be outstanding. And so a lot of investors go in and they think they want a property for a very low cost or a very small amount.
Right.
And they find out that they still have to, while they may be the record holder on paper, they still have taken that property subject to that mortgage. And so they still have to satisfy that mortgage before they own that property outright. And so this not only causes a lot of problems for investors, but it can cause a lot of problems for homeowners, because as you can assume, a lot of homeowners think, well, if I just pay my mortgage, I'll be fine. And so when budgets get tight, they will pay their mortgages and they'll satisfy the mortgages, but they'll sacrifice the association, not realizing that the association can also foreclose and can create essentially the same problem for you in the foreclosure court that your mortgage holder can.
Can you buy them time like you do on regular foreclosures?
Sure. So, I mean, it's the same thing. The process is the same for the attorney, whether it's the lender or the association. I can tell you that most times it's much easier to get a debt restructure with an association and get on a payment plan, get you caught up, and get you reinstated. Because in most scenarios, the association does not want to go through the work of trying to foreclose, whether they need to, even if they win the bid, take over the property, manage the property, try to rent it out. Most of them don't want to do that. Most of them just want their assessments and their fees. And so generally we try to get involved, the earlier the better. And we restructure your debt, get you on a payment plan, get you caught up for the arrears, and get you back going on a consistent payment schedule so that you don't have that problem with your association and not at risk of losing your home over such a small debt.
Tayson, I love your firm. You are so good. Let's give everybody, and the show is, I can't believe we've already gone our 30 minutes, but give everybody your phone number again and your website.
Sure. So I'll give you the website first. The website is my first initial T, my last name, Gaines, which is Gain, as in Nancy, ES, then the word law, LAW.com. So www.tgainslaw.com. Nationwide, 1-800-241-1559. Locally, 561-543-9226. And I want to just thank you for having me and thank everybody.
We love having you on. And you've got now your title company's open. So if people need title work, you can do title work now too.
That's right. So we try to be as full service as possible and plan on continuing the expansion to serve our community as best as possible.
Thank you, Tayson. We'll see you again next month with more Ask the Experts, and we'll see you guys next Thursday with more Ask the Experts. Have a good weekend. God bless. Thank you, Tayson.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in today to Ask the Experts, sponsored by board-certified family law attorney Tina Lewert of Lewert Law, LLC. Join host Steve-O again next Thursday for more interviews with the top experts in South Florida in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement on Ask the Experts.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program